Okay, everyone, now that we have our game working where we can actually determine who wins and loses, we're going to go on and try and finish up the basics before we start adding stuff to make it extra cool with like sounds and songs and stuff like that. First thing I'm going to do is rename this. Again, you guys use whatever name I tell you on the instructions. I'm just going sequentially right now because I haven't even thought of what I want to name the things yet. Okay, and if you remember in the last video, one thing I mentioned was that um, if you don't shoot all 10 monsters, you miss just one, you don't win, you don't lose. That doesn't really make any sense. So let's fix that. And a very simple way you could fix that is if you just give yourself a point every time you miss, you'll always get 10 points even if you miss one or two. Meaning, the way we have it set right now, if you miss 3, the game ends and it comes up and it says you lose. But if you miss, and if you hit all 10, it comes up and it says, so over here, scores equal to the monsters in the game, meaning 10, then you win. Over here, if the energy goes to 1 or below, you lose. But what if the energy is 2 or 3? That means you missed 1 or 2 monsters. Well, you didn't get 10 points, so you didn't win, but you also didn't lose all your energy, so you don't lose. So you're stuck in the middle. So a good way to fix that is just come over here, and at the end of this function, decrease energy. Every time your energy gets decreased, always give yourself a point. So if your energy gets decreased once, meaning you missed one monster, you've scored 9 points. But by giving you this extra point when you've missed a monster, you'll still get the 10 points. So really, since we're not putting down how many points we've gotten or not gotten, we just want to see whether we won or lost by getting enough of the monsters. Right here, if we just say increase score, which of course runs this increase score function, which will add 1 point to our score and then check and see if we now have gotten 10 points. If we have, then we're going to stop and say you won or you win. So we're going to run the increase score function every time we get hit by a monster. Okay, of course, if we get hit 3 times, then we've already lost the game. It never even increases the score and goes to check any of this. Okay, but it's only if we've only been hit once or twice. Okay, so let's just resave this and let's check it out. Hopefully I can hit. I missed 1. I missed 2. I'm so bad at this game. I lost. Sorry. Let's try again. So I got 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, 6 points, 7 points. I missed 1, but I still got 8 points. There's my 9 points, and there's my 10 points, and you see down here I still won. So I only shot 9, but I missed 1, but when I missed that one, it gave me a point, so I still got my 10 points. I still won, and here's my yellow bar, so I didn't lose yet. Okay, so that's how a very easy way to fix it so that you get 10 monsters, and if you miss 1 or 2, you can still win because you're getting 10 points. Because if you miss 2 monsters, you get 2 points from the misses, 8 points from the hits, adds up to 10. Okay, enough said. But now what we want to do is we don't just want to have down here in the output window say you win. In fact, when someone's playing this on a website, they don't have Flash open like we do, so they really can't see the output. There is no output window for them to see. So somewhere up in here we have to say you win. And we could just put the words up here, you win, but let's do something a little bit better than that. And what I want to do is I want to bring in 2 images into my library, one for a win screen and one for a lose screen. So I'm going to go to file, and of course you guys go find whatever pictures you want that you think represent a win and a lose. But I'm going to import to my library. I have not here. That's where I was testing things, but where I actually store all my stuff. So I got a folder called Mr. G Shooter Game and then graphics. And then here I got a win screen and I have a lose screen. or image that I want to use for those screens. Okay, now notice I got Count Dooku getting killed by Anakin, so that's a you lose. And I have a NASCAR, everybody confetti, arms up. Obviously somebody won something. This symbol right here, I don't really have a good reason why. I brought in two different images. One it makes a graphic symbol of automatically, and the other one it doesn't. I don't know why it does that, but we don't need this symbol, so I'm going to delete it. Okay, so we're going to go, we got to make a symbol out of those two graphics. So I'm going to go Insert, New Symbol. First one I'm going to do is I'm going to call it Win. And I'm going to export it for ActionScript and just leave it as class Win. And say OK. And over here say OK. Okay, so now my winning screen is this right here. So I'm going to drag this onto the screen, putting the top left corner on the plus sign. And if you don't remember, our stage size, or the size of our game, was 550 by 400. So while this is selected, I'm going to go to Properties, and the width over here, I'm going to type 550, and the height over here, I'm going to type 400, and hit Enter. So now the win screen is going to pop up and be the same size as the game, so that doesn't go off the edge or have a blank space around the edge or whatever. It's the exact same size as the game. Okay, now I go back to scene 1, and I'm going to do another symbol. So Insert New Symbol, and this one I'm going to call Lose. And I'm going to export it. Right here it says Lose. Say OK, say OK, and then I'm going to go back to the library. And on the Lose one, I'm going to find Count Dooku getting killed by Anakin, and I'm going to drag that on the stage, putting the, oops, scroll down a little, putting the upper left corner on the plus sign, let go, and same thing, go to Properties, and make the width 550, Enter, make the height 400, Enter, so that'll fit my game perfectly. Now we could just leave it at that, but I also think I want to put some text up here that says you lose, or whatever I want to say. I'm just going to say you lose, but you guys can say other stuff like Count Dooku, you lose, you're the worst, I don't know, whatever. So on this symbol right here, we're going to insert, or we're going to put on a text field, and the text field should be classic and dynamic. Okay, so when you click the text button, you just have to draw a rectangle over here. And while this is selected, in fact, I'm going to go to my Move tool. I'm not actually putting any text. Oops, see, I didn't click right on it. Here we go. Okay. I'm not actually putting any text in here. I'm going to add text to it using ActionScript. So, but I just want the box, and the box has to be named something. We have to give it an instance name. And the instance name I'm going to use up here is called end underscore text, TXT. And then hit Enter. Okay, so the name of this text box right now, or this text field, is called end underscore text. I'm going to go back to scene 1. And I'm going to go to my library and find the Win movie clip. And I'm going to put a text field over here too. Maybe I'll put it over here. And again, go to a library and name it the same thing. End underscore TXT. And maybe I'll put this up here, like this. So the text goes across there. Now this color of this text is going to be black. And I don't know if that's going to show up so good over here. And it's 31 point. I think I'll make it 38. I don't know why. Make it a little bigger. And maybe I'll make the text like a bright red, so it shows up. I think it'll show up good. Let's go back to that other one, the Lose. And you'll notice this, the properties on this one is it's black. So black on black, but that's not going to show up. So let's go back and change this to 38 just to make it a little bigger. And the color, let's make that bright red as well. Okay, so now we have a screen that, with the code that we're going to write, we're going to have a screen that pops up when you win and a screen that pops up when you lose. So it's going to go over this screen right here. But we have to put the code in to make that work. So on our actions layer, the first frame of our actions layer, on our main timeline, we go to our, open up our actions panel. And right now we have a function called increase score. And we're adding 1 to the score each time. Then over here we have right now we have a trace command, but that's tracing to the output panel, and we don't want to do that. So instead of trace, we're going to say show, and this is where we're increasing score, so it's going to be winning. So it's going to be show win. So that's the name of a function that we're going to run called show win. And in there we're going to say the word you win, just like with the trace command, but instead of going to the output panel, we're going to put it on the screen. And we haven't defined that function yet, but that's what it's going to be. And then down here where it says trace you lose, instead of to the output panel, we're going to delete that, and we're going to say show lose. Okay, now that we've defined those two functions, we're going to go down here after our decrease energy function and start a new function. And that function is going to be named show win. And if you notice up here, when we say show win, in parentheses we're putting some text. And what that's saying is when you go run this function, give this function this phrase. Okay, so in this function show win, we have to say, okay, we're going to be receiving something, and what we're receiving is some text. So the show win function, instead of just having open close parentheses like we often do, like the initialize game function here, and lots of other places where you see just open close parentheses and nothing inside, open close parentheses, nothing inside. Down here we're actually going to put something inside this. So in here we're going to say end message, and what type of data is it? It's a string, meaning it's text, and then colon void, and then our curly braces, and then we're going to set up a new variable. We're going to call it, a new variable. We're going to call it win. And it's, what type of variable is it? It's a movie clip. And it's equal to a new instance of our class, which we set up before in our library when we made the symbol called win. So it's a new instance of our symbol win, which is the NASCAR picture. And then we're going to add it to the stage. So add child win. And then on that, on win, inside the box called end text, we're going to add text, and the text that's going to be, and the text that we're going to add, it is whatever end message is equal to. And end message is going to be equal to whatever we say to pass through from show win. So over here, if I want to say you win, I type that in over here. If I want to put something else like you win because you're the greatest, whatever you put inside these quote marks here, that's what's getting passed in over here to end message, and therefore that's what's going to be put into our little box on our graphic that shows the NASCAR guys winning. So end message, and then don't forget the semicolon. Okay, so that's our winning message. Now we'll go and do our losing message. So we have function show lose, and did I spell it that way before? Yep, camel case with the capital L, so show lose, and that's going to receive some text, and we can call it end message again. So if you notice, we're pretty much doing the same thing we did before, other than this time it's called show lose. And curly braces. And inside the curly braces, we'll set up a variable. And instead of win, we'll call it lose. It's a movie clip. And that's going to be equal to a new instance of the symbol that we set up before called lose. And then we're going to add child lose, and then the text that we want inside the box that we put on that graphic that we put inside the symbol. So on this new variable lose, inside the box called end text, we're going to put in some text, and it's going to be equal to whatever end messages. And that should be it. So let's resave this one more time. It's always good to save before you run it, because sometimes when you mess up code really bad, your computer freezes and the file gets corrupted. So I always like to save before I run it. So now let's keep our fingers crossed and see if it works. Now if you notice down here, I got this little message, font should be embedded, which I said that in a previous video, but I didn't get the message. So there you have you lose, because I didn't shoot any of the monsters, because I was too busy talking about this embedded thing. But I'm glad that popped up, because it didn't pop up before for me, and you guys might not have known what I was talking about. So now maybe it becomes more evident. So there's the you lose screen. If I close it out and play it again, and hopefully I win. I think I'm better at Call of Duty than I am this friggin' game. Crazy. I missed that again. If I get one more, I think. Yay! And then you win. So again, you could say anything you want here. And you can have any picture you want. So now let's go back and do the one last thing, which is, now that we got this little message here, and notice it's in the output web panel. So if you were just playing this game off a website, you don't have an output panel, you wouldn't even see that. But let's fix it anyway. So I don't know if it's on, it doesn't really say which one of the two things it was. So let's just go do it on both of them. So here's the win one. With this thing selected, properties. Let me click on that once. And then right here, I guess the font Verdana is maybe not so standard, not as much as the Times New Roman that I had before. I didn't even bother to look at that and see what it was. But let me just click embed and say OK. And then go back to scene one. And that was the win one. So let's go back and do the lose one. And click on this once. Go to properties. It's Verdana again. I don't know if I have to click embed again, but I'm just going to do it for the hell of it. Go back to scene one. And this shouldn't pop up again. So let me go to the timeline and see. Oh, before we play it, let's save one last time. Control Enter. And notice we didn't get the message about the fonts being embedded. So it doesn't really stop the game from working. It's just a message, like a warning saying, hey, you really should embed them, just in case the people playing the game don't have that font. Then their system will substitute whatever font's closest to the one you chose, and it might throw things off. It might not look exactly the way you want it to. Not that the text looking a certain way is so important, but that's why, again, it's not an error. It's just a little helpful message. I just want to make sure I get the win screen, and there you go. So there's our game. You can win, you can lose. It's a game. So please include that stuff. And then in some future videos, we'll try and make the game a little bit even more exciting. Thank you so much.